Well, we're just about ready to get on the road. One more day in Valley Center, getting the trailer ready. And I know some of my family and friends have been asking or maybe wondering, how did we get to this point? Well, make a long story short, because it could be long. I took a new job in Washington State back in March. Started the job in March 1st, and left Tyler and Desiree behind here in California so he could finish school, and they could start getting the house ready for go on the market. About 9 weeks into the job, well, no, about 7 weeks into the job, we decided that I should take PTO and fly down to California to help get the house ready. Des was struggling with some anxiety, just the difficulty of me not being here and helping her out with the house, and of course, other things that she's talked about with everybody. So came down, got the house ready. About halfway through that week, we decided that it was going to be too difficult for Des for me to leave again, and so we came up with the idea to ask the new job if it was possible for me to stay down here, work remotely, at least until the end of May, because by that time, we had a good feeling the house was going to sell quickly, and I was already doing a little bit of remote work anyways. The company itself, most of the employees are consultants and they work remotely, and so we thought, hey, no big deal. We'll just see if it's a possibility. And I made it clear in my communications that if it wasn't going to work out, that's fine. We would make it work. Didn't want to be a burden on anybody, and so sent that inquiry to the lady that I was replacing, and just to get her idea on the whole thing before I talked to our boss. And she took that and said, well, she would communicate with him and see what he thought. And so they had a big meeting about it, decided it wasn't a good idea, and so she communicated back to me and told me as much, which I understood. And I told her, I said, okay, we'll make it work. She said, but he would allow me to stay down an extra week and work remotely, and then I would need to come back to Washington. So fine, no problem. He called me that second week, beginning of that second week, and wanted to just discuss some concerns, make sure I wasn't have any second thoughts about the job, about the company. And I assured him that I wasn't. Assured him that I so far I like the company, I like the people. Looking forward to being part of the team. Also, by this time, our house was already in escrow. Actually, no. Yeah, by this time our house was already in escrow, because we received an offer the Sunday prior, and we accepted the offer on Monday, and on that Tuesday is when we had the phone conversation. So he knew the house was in escrow. He knew we were committed to moving up to Washington, and so on that phone conversation we worked out a plan, which I told him, hey, at the end of this second week I'll fly back up to Washington and work for the next 3 weeks. It was about 3 weeks at that time, and then we knew the house was on a 25-day escrow, and so I told him that last week of May I would take my second week of PTO, fly back down to California, finish packing everything up, then move the family up to Washington permanently. Good. He seemed to think that was a good plan. You know, phone call ended well, and and we ran with it. By the end of that second week, we decided that it'd probably be a better idea, instead of Des staying here and me leaving them here again, that we would all drive up to Washington together, and she would kill a couple of weeks before the house closed, and then we'd all come back down to California the last week, and pack everything up and move up. And so we did. We drove back up to Washington the end of that second weekend, and went back to work on Monday. By the end of the second week, my boss called me back, or sent me an email, and said he was trying to get his flight schedule together, so we could have a meeting when I got back, which was great because I hadn't met him yet. I'd been looking forward to meeting him for the previous 9 weeks, because of his busy schedule. He didn't work or live in Washington, and so I thought, great. So I told him Tuesday. That way I'd have Monday to prepare for the meeting, catch up on some things. So Tuesday comes, and he gets into town unannounced, comes into the offices, sets up in the conference room. Had no idea he was there. And then he comes over into my office, and we shake hands. Hi, finally good to meet you. And says, come on, why don't you come on over to the conference room? I'm all set up. I'm thinking, great. We finally get to meet, discuss expectations, discuss what their plans are for the company, and plans are for me, and expectations of me. And so I grab my notes, grab my pen, my water, head down to the conference room, follow him down to the conference room, walk in, and immediately notice something's up. Vice President of Aerospace and Defense, who ran the offices that I worked in there in Bellevue, Washington, was sitting there, which didn't seem normal to me, especially for I don't report to her, and she didn't have anything to do with security, and so already started getting some suspicions, and sat down. Phil followed me in, and then he sat down, and then he proceeded to lean over to the conference call speaker phone and announce to the Vice President of HR that we were all there and sitting in the room. And right then I knew what was up. And then he proceeded to give me the spiel on how things aren't going to work out. Gave me some vague explanation about after making that inquiry 2 weeks prior, to see if it was possible to work remotely down in California until we were finished with the house and everything. He started having some second thoughts, hesitations about me, and so he initiated a meeting of the board of directors, 5 individuals that are on the board, that second week, and they essentially discussed my fate, decided that I wasn't the right person that they were looking for after all, and so they let me go. They did give me a severance. It wasn't a firing, it was, I guess, more of a layoff. They did decide to, as a severance, they decided to allow me to keep the relocation bonus that they gave me as part of my employment. Normally, under their company policy, any employees who don't work at least 12 months for the company has to return that money, the bonus. However, as a severance, they let me keep it. I mean, great, it helped. We had already started spending some of it anyways on getting the move and getting the house ready to move and all that kind of stuff, which we thought, hey, this is what it's for. So anyways, so that's the short of it. And so we were kind of left like, what the heck? Definitely threw a wrench in our plans. But there was an awkward piece about it. Even when I was sitting in the room and they were laying it on me, it was weird, but I felt at peace. I didn't feel angry. I mean, I was kind of wondering what's going on, and still wondering why, but I can't go there. It's in the past. It's done. I'm over it. And called Des and told her what had happened, and you know, and even she will admit that she had a piece about it. She even started laughing a little bit. And so yeah, so we just, you know, immediately start putting in place other plans, you know, trying to figure things out as we go. And you know, up and down emotions, you know, the normal stuff. And then so how did we get to this and what we're planning to do now? Well, I don't know, a few days after the whole thing happened, you know, I was just going about my day, and the crazy thought came to me to, you know what, just take this opportunity to travel around the country, take the family around, see some things we haven't seen in a while, see some friends we haven't seen in a while, or see some things we've never seen. And you know, my initial thought was 6 months. I'd still like to do 6 months, but you know, we don't have the money to do that. You know, we may not even have the money to do 2 months like we're now planning, but we'll see. So I've applied for unemployment. Still trying to figure that whole thing out. It's kind of, you know, California makes it difficult, of course. So yeah, hopefully I get that figured out and we have a little bit of income coming in, and then take the money that we got from the sale of the house here in Valley Center, which some of it we used to get the trailer, and then whatever's left, and we paid off the Honda Pilot with some of it, paid off all our debt, so we're debt free, and have some left. So hopefully we'll be able to conserve some money, figure out ways to save so we can enjoy this trip. Applied for a few jobs, had a phone interview last week for one, or 2 weeks ago for one, waiting to hear back on that. Another job in Washington. So yeah, so we're just gonna go and we're gonna see how it works out, and hopefully start putting together a decent plan today of stops in the route. So anyways, just updating everybody as a start. We're going to do this more often on the trip. Everybody's expressed excitement about us, you know, vlogging the trip, and Tyler's going to do some video editing and do what he likes to do, and put together clips, and we'll post them on YouTube so everybody can see the next Collins family adventures. Anyways, love everybody. Please pray for us, and we'll be in touch.